Hey guys, what's up? This is Pants Art Dragon, and today I want to be talking about Cinderhulk on Rek'sai versus Warrior on Rek'sai. A lot of people have been asking what's the best way to go, and in this video I'm just going to give my opinion on what I feel is the better choice and my reasoning why. So yeah, it's going to be a relatively short video, and hopefully you get some insight on what to build on Rek'sai. And with all that being said, let's get started. Alright, so let's talk about Warrior Rek'sai. Alright, so first off, Rek'sai has been hit on some of her abilities with the AD ratios, like her Q for instance is the most recent one, and so some people were a bit weary of building Warrior on Rek'sai at that moment. But it honestly wasn't that big of a nerf. In fact, it's like only 12 damage less if you had just the Warrior enchantment, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Plus her E also has a big AD ratio on it, so that's still being put to use. And also she gets a free attack speed steroid coming from her ultimate, so your auto attacks will hurt the enemies. And that's the bonus of having Warrior. But let's stop talking about statistics right now and start talking how I feel about Warrior Rek'sai. So I feel that Warrior Rek'sai is only good to go when you feel like you need to bring some damage to the table and you aren't relying on your team for the damage. In fact, you want you to do damage because you're going to be carrying your team. So I'd say this is more the carry build, and most times I'd only build Warrior if I had like 3 kills and I was planning on winning the game by myself and not really, relying on my teammates. I also do feel like Warrior has faster clears, so that is a bonus, and of course, better skirmishing in the early game since you have more damage. And Rek'sai is a very good skirmisher in the early game. In fact, in most situations, you don't want to 2v2 a Rek'sai and another champion, just because she's that strong. So yeah, your skirmishing is better, and your ganking is better, so what not to love. And in teamfights, I do feel like I'm a threat, especially if I'm very far ahead and I have something like Randuin, so I can hurt them, but they can't really hurt me. And I have the damage to kind of like solo them in that kind of aspect, so that's pretty good. And so to sum it all up, say you're like 5-0-2 and the score is like 15-15, that's probably when Warrior is a better choice. Cause you gotta carry, and to carry, you're gonna need some damage. Alright, now finally, we're going to be talking about Cinderhulk Rek'sai, which is probably the most popular in terms of what pros are doing right now. And comparing this item with the Warrior Rek'sai, it has, I'd say, many benefits over Warrior. For instance, it is better late game since it gives you bonus health, right? So that's a plus. And now you're also spitting out magic damage besides your underground Q. So if you have a lot of physical damage in your team, then grabbing Cinderhulk is a must, even if you are extremely fed. Because you gotta balance the physical damage, the magic damage, so people don't fucking build armor on your ass. Well, I mean, it's not a lot of magic damage, but it does help. And another thing is you're going to be more useful in teamfights since you have more hit point. So you're going to be more tankier, thus, have a bigger impact in teamfights. And also you won't notice too much of a damage difference with Cinderhulk and Warrior. Your Q won't make a big difference because it has a shitty bonus AD ratio. And so is your W. The only thing that's going to be noticed is probably the burst damage coming from your E. So yeah, you lose some damage, but you're going to be more tankier. And this is where you rely on your team to do the damage instead of, you. Because you're a jungler and you're probably going to be a tank. And that's your job. If you want to do damage while going Cinderhulk, you can also get a Black Cleaver if you want, since it has pretty good synergy with her and it gives health. Oh, and also when talking about damage, comparing Cinderhulk to Warrior, when say you're in the mid game and late game phase, you don't actually notice that much of a difference. In fact, you'll probably be like, oh, I don't really do that much damage, I'm just a tank. Which is her role, of course. And also, since Cinderhulk does scale better than Warrior, it's much more consistent, so if you did go Warrior and you stop snowballing, well, you're going to have a worse scaling into the late game because you don't have Cinderhulk, so you're going to be less tankier than the other jungler who probably is a Cinderhulk jungler. And yeah, that's about it for Cinderhulk on Rek'sai. In conclusion, when comparing Warrior to Cinderhulk on Rek'sai, Cinderhulk is more consistent, thus making it more better. I will probably buy it every time on Rek'sai in my games. The clears are a tiny bit slower, and her early game skirmishing isn't as powerful as say Warrior, but she still has her base damage, which is really strong, so her skirmishing is actually still strong. And if you are behind and you're not going to be snowballing with Warrior, you might as well go Cinderhulk for that late game scaling, right? And yeah, it's just I gotta go Cinderhulk for the health with the bonus health percent thing, so in teamfights I can just soak that damage and just be tanky. Rarely will I ever go Warrior on Rek'sai again, especially in my games. Unless say I got 3 kills before 8 minutes, then maybe I can snowball it, but most likely I'll just go consistent with the Cinderhulk. Anyways, this is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.